Hey everyone, this is Sandip back with another video. And in today's video, we are going to do a really exciting thing. This will be completely hands-on video where if you see on my screen, right, we are going to make this game, this guess the number game, which is really easy to create. I think like this is more of a beginner stuff, but I'm going to write the code as an intermediate programmer, not how the beginners write the code, right? So you're going to learn how actually in the industry or in real world we write the code. So this entire game I'm going to create in JavaScript. So you're going to get good hands-on in JavaScript. So let's first of all, try to play this game. So basically this is a guessing a number game, really popular game online, and we can create this game in most of the programming languages. So I've used JavaScript here. Obviously HTML and CSS is there. And if you see here, right, this UI looks awesome. Comment down below if you like this UI. So what we are going to do basically, so this is more of a start instruction here, right? Start guessing 1 to 20. So you need to guess the numbers from 1 to 20. And you see the score here, right? 20, and then there is a high score thing also I'm showing here. Okay, and there is a question mark. So there is some number which has been generated behind the scene, and the random number, and I want to guess that number. So you're thinking how I can guess a number from 1 to 20, but this will become easier as you play this game, right? So let me guess, maybe I'll start with 10. You see that? I'm getting the hint, right? The 10 which you have entered here is too high. Try again. Okay, so now I got the idea this number is too high. That means number is below 10, right? So let me try 5. That is too low, right? So the next guess, so you need to be smarter here, right? I mean, this is really easy, but now you can guess, right? The number is between 5 and 10. So let's start guessing something between 5 and 10. So I'm going to select 7 probably. And that's also too high. So now we got that range, right? It is between 5 and 7. So let's try 6. And there you go. Congratulations, you win. So this game gets easier as you play. So if you see here, my score is 16 and my high score is 16. I'm going to keep this high score until you refresh from here. Okay. Now let's play again. So there is a button which came now. Congratulations, you win. Now I can play this game again and it will reset back. My score will reset back to 20, but my high score will remain as 16. Okay, let me start with 12 this time. That is too low. So now the number is between 12 and 20. So let me try 15 this time. And I won. So you see that, right? I mean, this is really interesting game to play. So the number was 15. I was lucky. And now my high score has been updated to 80. So this is really nice game, we are going to create using JavaScript. So let's directly jump into the video and we'll start working on this game. So I have already created the folder structure for the project. If you see here, right, I have the HTML file created. So this is a really pretty simple HTML file I have created, right? And I have the CSS file also created. That's why, you're able to see that fantastic or the awesome UI of the game. So I have the HTML and CSS ready. I have this game.png file also. So this is more of a background. This is not created through CSS. And on this background only I have adjusted all those different HTML elements. So I have given that background image to the container if you look into the CSS. So I don't think so. This is more of a HTML CSS video. This is more to focus on the JavaScript, how to write the logic of this game using the JavaScript. But I'm running this here in the browser, right? So if you see here right now, so this is where, this is the finished version where we have played the game, right? So if you see here, right, you can see the title, you can see this message, and you can see this text input and that play again button here. So we are going to hide it. When we are playing the game, the play again button won't be visible here. Then we have the question mark where the number is going to come, the hidden number, the guess number which you have to guess, and the score and the high score and all those things. Okay, so I think we need to get into coding. So I'll go back to my Visual Studio Code. And you have seen, like, I have created the index.js file, also the JavaScript file, which I have included at the end, just before the end body element. So I'll go into the index.js file, and this is where we are going to write the entire logic for this game. And I've already written the steps how we are going to implement this entire game. Just these steps will be guidance, how to write a code. So as I said, this is more of a game for the beginners, but we are going to write the code in an intermediate developer style. We are not going to use the way beginners write the code, right? So we're going to follow some of the good strategies from the frameworks like React, what React does behind the scene. So let's start with the step one. So where, I'm going to define the initial state of the application. Now you must be thinking, what is the meaning of state? So state is nothing but, the data which going to change in your application. So I like this idea, where I'm going to have a state and a UI separated. I'm going to use the state and I'm going to render the UI. That's the idea which I follow for such small, JavaScript projects. So that's the idea I'm going to follow here. So we're going to define the initial state. Let's find out what is the state of our applications. I'll go back to the working example. So let's look at the things which are going to change, right? So this title, the guess the number title, obviously this is not going to change. This background image is not going to change. This title is not going to change. When you look at the start guessing 1 to 20, right? So say suppose I enter 4, right? I see this is changing, right? So this message is going to change. So this will be the part of my state. Obviously this input will be my part of state, because obviously I'm entering something here and that value I'm changing, right? So this will be part of my state. This is more of this is a random number. This is the output which we are going to show. So I don't think so this we are going to show as a final output, right? So this won't be part of my state, I would say. The score and high score will definitely be part of my state. So these are all the different things which I can think of, as a state. So I'm going to create so this number again, I'm thinking maybe. So let's go through one by one and create the state, right? And there will be some other things which are hidden here, which we won't see and which will be needed, right? Just to manage the game properly. So let's create the initial state for the application. So I'm going to start with the steps. So I'm going to create a variable, so which I'm going to name as init state. So that will be like initial state of my application. So I'm going to have a user number as my state. So let's take the top down approach, right? So this message, right? This message will be more of my state, and initially I'm going to have a value of, what was the initial value? I'm going to refresh it, start guessing 1 to 20. Maybe if I can copy this from here, I'll copy. I'll paste it here. Start guessing 1 to 20. So this is more of a string. Next, I'm going to have this. This is the input, right? So this is the input which has been given by the user. So I'm going to say user number. I'm going to say user number because it's user input, but it's entered by the user. So initially I'm going to keep it an empty string. This is going to be a number, but I'm using the string for now. Next will be this, right? So let's have this. This is more of a computer number, right? Because I'm going to render it. So let's skip it as this is more of a props, but I'm going to keep it as a part of state only because this is simple game and simple JavaScript code I'm writing. So let's have a computer number, and obviously the value will be the question mark. That's what we are going to show there, right? Next, if I go down, I need to check my spellings. We're going to have the score also, right? Score and the high score. So let's use those also, score, and score is going to be 20. Next, we are going to have a high score, and that will be 0. Initial will start with a 0 high score. And there will be another state which we'll be needing in future. I'm going to write in right now only because I have written this code before only. So, or maybe I can keep it for now, and I'll bring that up later on because we're going to use that state value also. So I have the message, I have the user number, the computer number, the score, and high score. So now I'm going to use this initial state, right? So we are going to define the current state of the application. So this is the initial state which I'll always need when I'm going to play the game, right? When I'm going to start playing the game. That's why I'm keeping the copy of the initial state of my application. But there is something which is called, the current state, which will be like which will be the current state of the application. Because when I'm going to start playing the game, this message is going to change, this user number is going to change, right? And maybe if I win the game, right, this computer number I'm going to show, which the computer has selected, right? The score is going to change, this high score is going to change. So at any a future time, or at any time when the application is running, when I'm playing the game, I'm going to have that state defined inside the current state variable. So I'm going to have this as an initial state, but I'm going to have one more thing which is called the current state of my application. For that, I'm going to create a separate object called let, and this is what I'm going to always use to render my application. So current state, which I'm going to have just as an empty object for now, because obviously when I'm going to start my game, I'm going to use the initial state, and that will be my current state. Okay, now step 3, initialize all the DOM elements. So I have different DOM elements which I need to target, right? So now if I go back to here, right, if I refresh, I have all the hard-coded values which are there in the HTML, right? Guess the number, then start guessing, then play again, user number, then the score and this high score, everything is coming from the HTML. I need to have all of my initial state populated into the DOM, right? And how can I render the DOM, or how can I populate, or how can I assign the text content to all those DOM elements by accessing all those DOM elements? So let's do the step 3 where I'm going to initialize all the DOM elements. So let's start from the top to bottom. So first of all, I need this message, right? So let's target that, and that is here, right? This paragraph is my message, which has a class name of message. So I'm going to use simple. So I'm going to create different elements here using const. So this will be my message elements. I like to use this way of naming the variable. So message element, I'm going to use document dot query selector, and I can pass this. I'm going to use double quotes always. I'm going to pass this class name here. So the message was the class name, right? So this is how I'm going to target this. So now I have this message paragraph element, so that I can target this text content here, right? So right now it is showing start guessing 1 to 20, but now I'm going to use the initial state, and I'm going to pick that from here. I'm not going to remove it right now. Now let's target the next element, which is this number. So that has a class name of user number input. So I'm going to take that also, and I'm going to target that. So let's do that one by one. So I'm going to say const, this will be my user number element, and I'm going to use same document dot query selector, and I'm going to paste that class name here. So that's the user input number. Next one, so I'm going to take one by one. I need to target this play button also. So I'm going to copy this class name, because I need to handle the click event on that play button. So again, so that will be play again button, and I'll say the element, and let's use document dot query selector and paste that class name here. So I'm using a very simple convention here, where I'm just having I'm targeting all the elements using the class syntax. Next, I need to target this computer number. So let's copy this from here. This is again a paragraph. Now I'm going to just do the copy and paste. So this will be my computer number element, and I need to target this one. So I'm going to copy and paste the class name here instead of writing. Next one will be the score, and next one will be the high score. So I need score and high score, right? So this one I'm going to paste again. So the first one will be score element, and Let's copy this score class. And I want to target this actually, this span, because I'm not going to change this score. I'm actually going to change this number. So I'm going to target this span. So I'm just going to add a space here. And so this is, CSS, how to target the CSS, how we target CSS elements in CSS. Same thing we can do here for targeting the DOM elements in JavaScript. Next will be high score element, right? So high score element, and just going to copy this one. Here also I'm going to use the same strategy. I need to target the span. First of all, I'm going to copy this and then again a space and span element. Cool, looks good. So I have all the DOM elements. Now I'm going to initialize the game. I need to generate the random number also. And I'm going to initialize the game also. Initialize the game means I have my state. I have my initial state, which I'm going to use to render my application using all of these elements, right? So all of these elements, I'm going to give the value using the initial state. So that's what we are going to do inside this function basically. So there will be a separate function called render application, but I'm just going to initialize the game with the random numbers. I'm going to write a function here that will be init. And this init is actually, so I'm going to use the current state. So first of all, let's generate the random number because I need that random number which will start my game, right? So let's move that part here and let's generate the random number. So for that purpose, first of all, I'm going to create a random variable, and to generate a random number, I can use math.random function, and this will give me the value in 0 point something. I'm going to multiply that with 20 because we need numbers from 0 to 20, and this will give me the value in decimals. So I'm going to do math.round for that. So that will round the number. So this will give me the value from 0 to 1 to 20 basically. So this is random. So I'm going to use actually I'm just going to declare that here and generate that random number here. So that's a good idea, to initialize the value inside your init function. Okay, I'm just going to do the console.log so that we can see what is the number which I want to guess, because we can cheat here until the game has been developed. So I'm just going to console.log this, and this will be more of computer number. So this is computer number space and okay, so I'm going to log my random number. Now inside my init, basically where I'm initializing the application, right? I'm just going to change the current state only. So I'm going to say current state is equals to, I'm going to use object destructuring, and I'll use the initial state only. And now the initial state will be my current state. And I'm going to use this only to call the render function. So render is actually going to render my application. So I'm going to call the render function. I haven't written the render function yet. That's why maybe it is not coming, but I'll try somehow, I'll try and have it. So I'm going to call the render function, and every time whenever I'm going to call the render function, I'm going to pass my state. So let's pass the current state for now. And now, so this is initialize the game. So for the time being, I'm just going to comment the render function and we'll go back and see how the application is working. So I'm going to call this init method to start the game here. Just below that, I'm called the init method. Let's call the init method. What it is going to do. So this code is going to execute it as my file. This index.js is going to load it into the browser, right? So this variable is going to get initialized, then this current state, then all of this DOM element. I could have put this into a function, but that's okay. We can keep like this. Now inside this init, actually I'm starting the game, where I'm generating the random number, then I'm changing my current state to initial state, and then I'm calling the render function. But I have commented render function because I haven't written it. I'm calling the init function, which is going to generate the random number. And let's see, then I'll use the initial state or current state, and I'll render my application also. So I'll go back to my application here. I'll open the console window just to have. So see, this is the current number. So as I refresh, right, since the computer is generating different number, this is the number which you need to guess by entering here, right? So this is our computer guess number, which we are going to show when you're going to win the game, which we are going to show here in this question mark. So I think let's use now our DOM element and initial state to render the application. So now finally I'm going to call this render function with the current state. So let's write a function render, and the render is going to have a state always, right? And the state I'm going to use to render my application. So here, I'm going to target all of my DOM elements. So I'm going to take this message element, right? And message is paragraph. So I'm going to say text content, and that text content will be nothing but state dot. This is more of a message. So it's really easy, right? That's why I like this way of writing the code in JavaScript, where I keep my state separate. I grab all my DOM elements, and there's one area in your application, the render function, where I'm going to render all my values, all of my state values. And in future, in the next part of the video, you will see where I'm going to have a logic written for this game, where I'm just going to change the state of the application, and I'm going to call the render function. I don't need to grab my DOM elements all the time, and change the value. This is the idea I like, and this is why, I said this is not a beginner code. This is more of a give you the feel of becoming an intermediate JavaScript developer. So next message element, I got it right. Let's go one by one. So I got the message. Now let's take this user input element. So I have this user number element, and this is an input, right? So it has a value property basically. So I'm going to take my state dot, and that's a user number, right? So user number, and initially it will be an empty value. Next we have this question mark, right? And that's our computer number, right? So I'm going to grab the computer number element, and this is again going to be a text content because that's a paragraph. So again, I'm going to use state dot. This is my computer number. Okay. And computer number, initially I'm keeping the question mark. Next is our score and high score. So let's do that. Score, and score element actually I need to target, and score is again a paragraph. So I'm going to target the text content, use the property state text content, and state dot. This is my score, right? So I'll say score. Then we have a high score element dot text content, and that will be state dot high score. See that? Now I'm calling the render function, and whatever you see here, right? These are all the values which are coming from the state. I'll show you, right? So now say suppose I remove these three dots, if I save my application, see that? It's coming from the state. Now it is not coming from the hard-coded value which I have printed here. It's coming from the state. That's why, I like the idea of having the state of the application separated from the actual logic, actual game logic. Okay, so I think we are going good. We are already done with the step 1, where we have defined the initial state of the application, then current state of the application. We have initialized all the DOM elements, and we have initialized the game also by generating a random number and calling the render method. And step 5, where we have rendered the application also. I think this is a good time to take a quick pause. I think it's good to take a break in between the video, just to understand whatever you did till now in this video. And as I would suggest, let's have a quick pause, come back, and then we will continue with different steps, because somewhere now where I'm going to add the event listener, and then updating the state is actually the real meat of this application, where I'm going to write the logic of the game. So let's have a quick pause, come back, and then we are going to write the step 6 and step 7 of this game. Okay, welcome back. So I hope you had a quick pause and you have taken the quick pause. So let's continue to build our guessing the number game, right? And there's one part which is pending from the state perspective, which I wanted to show you, right? We're showing this input and play again button at the same time, but when the game is running, right? When I'm going to win the game, then only I want to show the play again button. Until then, I want to hide this button. So let's go back to our HTML. And if you see here, I have this div. Inside that, I have this input, and then I have this play again button also, right? And if I go back to my CSS, I've added something called a hide class, which has a property of display none. So I'm going to use this hide class, and I'm going to hide the play again button because I want to show this number. So when I'm going to win the game, I'm going to hide the input and show the play again button. Until then, this play again button won't be visible. That's what I want to do. So let's do that. And that again, I'm going to manage through state. This button showing or hiding this button and text input is more of a state of my application, right? So now see, the things are really easy when you follow this strategy, and you can follow this strategy in all your small games or small applications, I would say. So I'm going to create a new state here, and I'm going to call that state as win. So I can write it as a win or a lose, but initially I won't have I haven't won the game, right? So win is equals to false. So this is my state, and this is what I'm going to use here. So I'll come back to my render. So render is an area where I need to handle everything. So here I'm going to have a logic where I'm going to check if I need to say if state dot win. If it is true, right, means I have won the game, right? Then I want to show the play again button. I want to hide that text input, right? So in that case, I want to show the play button, right? So play again button. So I have an element for play again button, right? Play again button element. And there is something called class list, which I can access. And inside that class list, I can remove the actually hide class if it is already there. Okay, so maybe I'll show you the else part first. That will be really easy. Instead of making, not, I can write not here, but I'm not writing that. Let's show the else part. Else part where, because now the win part is false, right? Means I haven't won the game. The state.win is false. That's why it is going to come here. And maybe I'll cut this part from here. So I want to remove basically I want to add the hide class here because I want to hide my play again button, right? So I want to, else play again class list dot add hide. At the same time, I want to remove the hide class, which I might have added. So if you are continuously playing the game, right, I'm trying to handle that scenario also. So user number element dot class list, you will understand this once we'll start playing, and I'll explain that. I want to remove that class also if it is already added, So because I'm going to toggle this hide class between these two elements, right? Play again button and user number. So if it's already there, maybe user number have a hide class, I'm going to remove that. And I'm going to add the hide class to my play again button. So now state.win is false, right? Let's test this step or scenario. Now it is false. So obviously it's going to come here. So I'm going to add the hide class, which is going to hide my play again button. Right? I'm going to remove the hide class if it is already there in my user element. So if I save and go back now, see that button is gone. And I'm going to keep this if condition there for now. We're going to write that logic later on when we are actually going to win the game. So let's go step by step. Okay, so next thing is, right, we need to add some event listeners for the play button and for the user number element. So let's start with the user number. So I'm going to enter some number here, maybe 5. And there the real logic is going to start where, I need to update my state. I need to compare whether this number 5 is greater than the computer number or less than the computer number. And based on that, I'm going to give the hints to the user, right? So let's do that. So let's add the event listeners here. So for that, I like to write a function. So I'm going to write a function add listeners. I would have written directly also, but let's use a function way here. So add listener. So this is a function I'm going to call just after the init. Okay. And this should be update. And here inside this, I'm going to target my user element first. Let's target the user element dot. I'm going to add the event listeners. So there is a JavaScript function for listening event. So I want to listen for the change event because it's a number input. So I'm going to listen for the change event. And based on that change event, I'm going to get the E as a event object. I'll use the arrow function and I'll write a function here. So I'm just going to call one function, called update state. So this is the area where we are going to manage the logic of our application. And I'm going to pass that number, which the number I'm getting from my user input, right? So that's my number. So that will be e dot target dot value, right? But this is going to return me a string. So I'm going to convert this into a number. I'll use pass int function, JavaScript pass int function for that. And this is going to get converted into a number. And this number I'm going to pass to my update state function. And now update state is going to handle the entire logic because I have the number, right? Whatever number user has entered here. So let's test this, just till here. So I'm going to call the update state function. So I'm going to write that function here. Function update state, which will receive the number. And I'm just going to do the console dot log of that number. So I'm just going to say what's the number. Let's have that here. Okay, so now I'm going to save. And now computer number is 9. Now say suppose I enter 5. You see that? We are getting that number. I'm going to change that number to 7. We're getting that number. Now we need to compare this number with this computer number. That's how the logic is going to build, right? So that's how we are going to change this, check the state. But we need to handle for the negative scenarios also. I would suggest you handle for the negative scenarios also. That's a good idea. But that part I'm going to keep it as an assignment for you. I'm going to write a really simple code here, but I'll give you the final version also if you want, or maybe, but I'm going to keep that as an assignment for you. I'm just going to straight away go. There is a possibility, right? User can enter 0 here also, right? User can enter minus 90 also. So user has to enter the right value, right? So we need to check that. So maybe I can write that code for you. Let's do a simple, that will be really simple. If condition, first of all, I'm going to check for, it should be a number, right? If it is not a number, the number which is coming, if it is not a number, maybe it is a string, I'm not going to accept that. Okay. And number should be, another condition would be number should be greater than 0 because we are targeting the guessing number using something called we need to guess the numbers from 1 to 20. We don't want to accept any, not a number value or any number. Okay, so is not a number, or if it is less than or equals to 0, I'm going to return. So the game is not going to get executed in any of these cases, right? Otherwise, I'm going to write my logic here, right? So let's write that. So I'm going to say, I'm going to have another if condition. So here, the first condition will be, I'm going to check if a number is greater than random. Random is the computer generated number, right? The random number which I have generated. So if it is greater than a random number, the first thing I need to do, so say suppose I'm going to save this, okay? And my number is 19, right? So say suppose I enter 20. So I'm going to check, okay, 20 is greater than 19. So I'm going to give the hint to the user. Obviously it is not equal, right? I'm going to say here in the message, it is too high. So the user will get the idea. Okay, the number is too high. I need to, a user need to try some other number. So I'm going to update my state. All right. So here I'm going to update my state. I'm not going directly going to access the DOM elements and modify the DOM elements. I'm going to update my state. So I have that in my current state, right? So I have my current state where I have the message. So I'm going to update my message, and that message will be too high. And then I'm going to say try again. Okay. So I'm just updating the text message here. So this is just updating the message, right? Then I'm going to have another condition. Let's have another condition where I'm going to check if number is less than random. So in that case, we need to again update the message, right? So I'm going to copy this one and paste it here. So I'm going to say too low. So I'm giving the user a hint, right? Try again, try entering some other number. So let's test this two scenarios only, or rather three, I would say. So we are going to check, or maybe in this case also, instead of returning, I'm just going to update the current message only, right? So instead of returning, but this is going to execute this part also. So I don't want that to be executed, but I want to give the warning to the user also. That's what I'm thinking. So maybe let's test this part first, and we can always improve the game as we code along, right? So the number is 3. Let me try to enter 4 here. And I'm not calling the render function actually. That's why, so finally let's call the render function also so that we can see. So I'm going to, because I have changed my state, so I'm going to pass my current state to the render function. So again, so that this is a really good idea, to just change the state and call the render method, and render is going to handle all the DOM element part, where, and it's going to update the UI based on the state. So I'm just updating the state here and calling the render function. So let's see, now it is 4. I'm going to enter 6. And if I press enter, see that too high, try again. Okay, let's try maybe, and see that number has been removed because I haven't updated the state for the number. Okay, so I'll try 2. See, it is showing too low. Try again. So at least this scenario, I mean, this part is working. Now I need to update the other part of my my state also, right? So let's try the another condition, right? We will need the final condition which we need to check. There is a possibility, right? If number can be equals to random also, right? So in that case, the user is going to win the game. All right. So I'm going to say current state dot message. So I'm going to use message only, and we are going to say user, congratulations. Congratulations. And then we will say you win. So this is good. This is a message which I'm going to show. And now we need to update the other things also. If the user, and there are other areas also which we need to focus, right? So when the user is going to win, we are going to show that number here. We are going to display the number also. We need to update the score also, and we need to update the high score also. I'm not updating the score part here. So let me do that. I need to update the score also. So every attempt, so whenever I'm going to call this update state, whenever I'm going to enter any number, I need to update my attempts. And that is nothing but my score, which I want to reduce basically. So I'll start with the 20. So I'm going to change my current state dot score value, and just going to do the minus minus. Every time when you're going to enter any number, so when this user number, that add event listener change. So whenever I'm going to change the number, I'm calling the update state, right? So that's like one attempt. So I'm going to change my score to, I'm going to reduce my score by 1. Okay, and then I'm going to check whether number is greater than random. So based on that, I'm doing all of the state changes. And here, we need to do some more changes in the state where, I need to change my current state dot high score, right? Because when I'm going to win the game, I need to change my high score to my current score, right? So I'm going to say current state dot score. That will be my high score. Okay. And next, this is the thing which I need to handle. Then obviously I'm winning the game, right? So I'm going to change my win value to true. That is also important. So changing state, all the values of the state, right? And I'm going to show, so I'm going to win the game. So as because I'm going to win the game. So in that case, I want to show that button also, right? The play again button, which we are going to handle. So let's do step by step. I'll show the number also to the user. So I'm going to say current state dot computer number, and I'm going to, instead of showing the question mark, I'm going to show the random number there. So whatever is a random number selected. So let's play this game till now, and then we will handle the things step by step. So so I need to guess the 14 number, right? So I'm going to first enter the 10. It is saying too low, right? Maybe let's try, and I'm not showing the previous number also. So let's do that. Actually, that is also really important. So I'm going to have that here. So current state dot user number. Let's populate that value with a number so that, every time I should see that number. Okay, so I need to guess 18. So I'm going to enter 15. See, now I can see the 15 here. Okay, so this is too low. Let me try 20. It is saying this is too high. So this is working fine. Now I'm going to guess the right number. Okay, that is a 18, right? Computer number. So what will happen in that case? That number will appear instead of this question mark, and this score will, this high score will change. Okay, so I'm going to say enter. See that? My score and my high score is 18, and you see that 18 number has appeared here, and you see the congratulations, you win also. Now the only thing which is remaining is I need to show that, because see, I can keep playing this game now. I don't want that to happen, right? So I'm going to show that play again button here. So that play again button is nothing but handled with current state dot win logic, right? So I'm going to say win, and obviously you're going to win this game. So win is going to become true here. Okay, win is going to become true here. And now I'm going to handle, because I'm calling the render function, right? Using the current state. So let's go into the render method, and here, I'm taking the state. So state.win, when the win value is true, I'm not handling anything. So I'm going to copy and paste this, and I just need to do the reverse. So I'm going to remove the hide class from the play again button, and I'm going to add that to the user number element. See, that's why, I said we need both of these things, because I need to remove the hide class from one element so that will be visible, and I need to add the hide class to other element to hide that particular element. So far so good. Let's play the game again. So I need to guess the 5. So I'm going to say 4. That's too low. I'm going to say 6. That's too high. Now I'm going to guess the right number. We know the number, but I'm going to hide that part, that console. And if I say this time, you see that? Congratulations, we win, and we got the play again button. Now, if I click on this button, nothing happens because I haven't written any code for that. So let's do that. So again, inside my add event listener, I'm going to target my play again button element, and we're going to add an event listener for that. And that will be click event. So I'm going to listen for the click event, and let's have an arrow function. I don't need an event object in this case. And on this click, basically what I'm going to call, right? I need to reset my game, right? So I'm going to just call my init function. Let me see what is written inside my init function. So I'm just going to call the init function, which will generate another random number. So that number will be printed here, and I'm going to change the current state to init state. Okay. So, and this is going to call the render again. So again, my application will be rendered. So let's call the init function only. That's why, writing such function is really helpful. Breaking down your application into small functions. So now let's play the game again. 5 is a number I want to guess. 2 is too low. Maybe I'll go with 6. 6 is too high. Now let's guess the right number, 5. I've got the button. I got the score also, 17. I'm going to click on play again button. See that? So now that input has came, that question mark has came, and again start guessing 1 to 20 has came. I got my score back to 20. Score should reset to 20. But you see that, right? There is a problem here. My high score got reset to 0. It should have maintained the last high score. And why it is not maintaining the last high score? Because if I go back to my application, I'm calling the init, right? So this is how we are going to track. When I click on play again button, it's calling the init method, right? And inside init, I'm generating the random number. Then I'm printing that number. Then current state is init state. It means initial state. Let's look at the initial state, and initial state has a high score of 0. That's why it's rendering that 0. But somewhere, when I'm winning the game, I need to change that initial state to the current state, right? So I think all the time I need to keep my current state, right? Instead of passing the initial state. But whenever I'm initializing the game, right, I'm using the init state value. So instead of this, I'm just going to put one condition here. I'm going to check if current state has some value, right? Maybe initially I'm initializing my current state with an empty object, right? So we can have this function written here. So I can check for object dot keys, and I can check whether my current state object has any keys. So it will return that's keys, right? Dot length. If it is less than 0, I'm going to call this with init state. Okay. Otherwise, I'll say current state is equals to current state. Right? Because I have the current state, which is my previous state. So let's see now. Now, if I go back, now the computer number and something went wrong with my code, right? So I think this logic is not working. Or maybe let's do that. We can change the initial state. So I'm going to undo. There is another way to do this thing. I was thinking of this scenario. So maybe this is not fitting this situation. This is not working in this situation. So I'm going to keep like that only. And my game is back to normal. I'm just going to change the initial state here, right? So current state dot high score, I'm going to change my init score, init state dot high score also. So that will have this score value. So this should work. So what I did, basically I have updated the initial state also, because I need to have that high score value updated always in my initial state also. So now let's try to play the game. Now I'm going to enter 2. This is too low. I'm going to enter 6. This is too high. I'm going to enter 5. So my high score is 17. Now I'm going to click on play again and see that I have the 17 value here and my score is 20. Okay. So finally, I think we are done with the game, right? Let's remove that cheating. We are cheating the game, right? I'm printing that random number which I have written inside my init. So I'm going to remove this. After removing this, we are going to play the game once again. Let's have a testing. So I don't know the number now. Okay. So maybe I'll try with 12. Okay. So that's too low and I'm printing the number also. Let me remove that number part also. So I'm going to search for all my console.log. How many console.log I have? I have only 1. So let's remove this also from here. Okay, so I don't have any console.log now. Let's play. So 12 is too high. Maybe let me try 7. That's too low. So something is between 7 and 12. Let's try 10. That's also too high. So something is between 7 and 10. Let's try 9. Okay, I won the game and I can see my high score. And score, I'm going to play again. My high score remains the same. Let's try 10 this time. Too high. Okay, let's try 5. Too low. Something is between 5 and 10. Let's try 8. Okay, that is also too low. Means that is 9. See that? So this is a really interesting game. We have created using JavaScript. We have written the entire logic in JavaScript. And this UI also is looking awesome. So I'm going to share all of these files on GitHub. You're going to use the index.html CSS file and you can write the JavaScript. At least you should write the entire index.js by yourself. But I would suggest, just go through the HTML file also. See what I have done. This is really easy actually. Just go through it. Go through the CSS file also and see what I did for this CSS. Just on one of the background image, this game.png, I have aligned all of these different small elements. That's what I have used. So I think we have made through it. We have made a really simple, nice, beginner-friendly guess the number game, but we have written the code as an intermediate developer. So I hope you have learned a lot from this video. And if you have learned from this video, probably you can share it with other, JavaScript developers, their friends, so that, it's going to help them learn JavaScript and create such a nice games using JavaScript. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to see you in the next video. I think thanks for watching the video. Until then, you take care. Goodbye. And I'm going to see you in the next video. Thank you.